Right. Okay, everybody. Hi. I was my head was off in the clouds a minute ago. I don't know where my brain was, but that's okay. We're here. Yeah, that where you're sitting there and you're thinking about something, and you realize, oh wait a minute, what was I doing? Where was I? What's happening? It's all crazy. So there you go. Here we are. All right. We got somebody. Hey, Phillips already said hello. Hey, Philip, stand by for action. Yeah, hi. Okay, so let me get started. There's the old standard. If you got a one-page comic idea, if you want to put in one or two sentences, put it here in the chat or in the comment section below the video. Could I say that faster? I think I could. I finished yesterday's page. That's not it. Okay, so this is the day before. This is Sunday's page, which was a 2-pager. Looking for a valuable time, space, pod. And then yesterday I did this. Last night I did this. It's hey comic kids. Of course that's clearly a variation on hey kids comics. So I don't know. It's a fun idea. It was a fun idea that Frankly had for us. I'm calling Frank Salazar Frankly from now on. We're just going to lean into the whole Frankly jokes that people make to Frank. I'm just calling him Frankly. Frankly Mapleton. That's his new name. Frankly Mapleton. Okay. Music of choice today is Black Mountain. If you don't know them, look them up. They're a lot of fun. Okay, so yeah, the whole point of this page is just to riff off on the idea of superhero mail order scams. I just thought that was a fun notion to present for a page. And that first thing it made me think of was the articles that were inside of comic books that had, hey, kids, you can have your very own colony of seahorse people. It's algae. Or, hey, you can order 1,001 things for $1.99. They were always junk. Like it was always cheap plastic, easy to break toys. I could never afford any of that stuff. Anyways, 1,000 soldiers in a bag. I don't know. Never got into those. I know one guy who claimed to buy as much of that stuff as he could, and I wouldn't be surprised because he came from more accommodation than I did. But I just didn't. You look at it and go, nah, it's not real. Except for the Charles Atlas, How to Become a Stud from a Dud. Yeah, I tried that out. That worked well for me. I ate nothing but protein. Anyways. Yeah, so this was a play on that. So I used the Hey Kids Comics typeface for what used to be at the top of spinners for comic books in stores. And I did a variation on that. Hey, comic kids. And then I go on about what would it be if you could mail order superpowers for your children out of the back of comic books. So it's fun. It was a lot of fun. I clearly fly off the handle on it, as I do with almost everything. But it was fun. It was. I did the original drawings on. Here, I'll switch to the overhead. I did the original drawings, ballpoint pen. I got myself a brand new package of Papermate pens, folks. Not 10. 10 plus 1. 10 plus 1 of those beauties. The best ballpoint pen I've ever seen, anyways. So this is some of the images that I did, which then got scanned and formatted into the page. And I had a lot of fun with that, It's one of those things where I enjoy the ability to assemble the pages in whatever way and means. I sort of intuitively feel like the page direction is going. So the different sizes or different scaling that I'll draw the original images at doesn't matter, as long as because look at this kid, he's almost off the page, right? And on the finished page, he's dead center of a panel. I did a little bit of modifying of photo source imagery and had some fun with that. Rather than trying to draw clouds, I just messed around and found clouds. But for the most part, it's just just a lot of fun to assemble a page like that and just run with a tangent of thought. And of course, this tangent of thought is, if you give little kids superpowers in the mail, that's just, you're asking for calamity. You're asking for trouble. Aside from the kid factor, I mean, how many adults do you know that would mail order superpowers that could actually be responsible with those? We're entering into a day and age where most commercial product is going to be starting to be accessible in online shopping and in mailing. And just the notion of some of these more extreme items is terrifying to me. The idea of, superpowers. Yeah, that's kids blowing stuff up. Hey, look out, everybody. It's Frankly. I've talked about two things. There's your page that you suggested. There's your mail order, superhero mail order scams. That was the suggestion that Frankly gave me yesterday. I've also decided that I'm now calling you Frankly Mapleton. And just so that everybody knows, I'm just going to type it right here. Frankly Mapleton. It's your Canadian name. So, yeah. So anyway, so the idea of taking a tangent, taking an idea, and running with that, to me, there's, well, for whatever reason, it won't let me type in the thing. Frankly, I'll write it on a piece of paper. Yeah. I hope you can see and hear me, but Frankly Mapleton. This is Frank Salazar's Canadian name. Hold on. And put it on screen. There we go. Frankly Mapleton. You're welcome. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So today's idea is to sit down and try to work on this notion. Gary presented an idea yesterday I want to explore a little more. The idea of if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. I like that expression. It sounds to me to be one of those old, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride, kind of a cowboy thing. But the notion of hobos wishing upon things is cute. Frank says that he's my uncle. No, he's you. Your Canadian name is Frankly Mapleton. That's the only thing I'm going to call you in Canada. And if I'm over in the States, I will address you with your American name. It's a tricky thing, names. Oh, I see. Frankly is your uncle. Bruce Lee's your uncle. Your dad is Stanley. Yeesh. All right. Okay, so hopefully I'm still up on screen. I think I am. I'm getting your feeds anyways. So today's idea is if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. And my notion for that is to play. I'm going to try a little something different today. I'm going to, okay, see you in a minute, Philip. You drive around the generally. Frank is nonstop today. Okay, so here's the tools that I put together for myself. I've got black crayon, white wax pencil. I'm trying to find more of these without having to go online. I am really not an online shopper. So, and I got white paint pen, one of the old soldiers here that I picked up recently, and a bunch of microns, which I don't generally use. Jelly roll, of course, but some microns, which I don't generally use. So, oh, it's a whole lot of fun going on here. So the idea today is to keep it really sketchy, to keep it really open. And the reason that I'm doing that is that I want to try to push myself and not get too hung up in being overly tight. Like yesterday's pages, a lot of fun, but really overly tight. And what they don't give me is the opportunity to move quickly. Now, bearing in mind, I realize that everybody draws at different speeds. But some of the challenges that we can set for ourselves is to just push ourselves a little farther, a little bit on the outside of our comfort zone there. So that's what I'm doing today. So the idea is I'm going to start off by drawing, a hobo. There we go. Hello, Frankly. Yeah, Phil got bounced out there, so he's going to try to come back in. So, so trying to work quickly, trying to work, with a micron pen, which is something I don't normally draw with, is pushing me in two ways. And both those ways are to, that was for you, Frank, the little hobo reference. That was for you. Hobo. It's because Frank hears a voice, keeps on calling him. So the idea is to start off with a person who's out, a bum. I put Gary's note nearby. He had a fun little idea, and I'm really going to chase this down. Yeah, bigger. Realizing that horses are made out of wishes. It's a fun idea. So I'm just chasing down some of the folds and shapes and patterns and trying to make the body more interesting as we go. And I'm not overly concerned about bleed over lines, so lines that might move over top of another thing. I'm just going to forgive myself that today. Little scratchy lines, those are okay too. Because every now and then you just got to open up and let it go. And I know that's hard for some people. I realize that some of us have to work very specifically, very precisely, and being haphazard or chaotic isn't necessarily something that they feel comfortable with. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, not at all. That's what works. That's what works. But sometimes if we find ourselves caught up in a bottleneck of, I can't move forward, I can't get things done because I'm so worked up about, having everything be perfect. Well, at a certain point, you got to let yourself go on that front. And also doing it this quickly sort of makes you play with your lines a little bit. So I'm trying to draw our guy with a couple of different layers. Finding those folds. Yeah, whoops, I'm sorry, I've moved off. Let me know if I'm moving off camera, folks. I apologize for that. That's I'm ridiculous. Something I'll always respect is the people that can do these long lines that perfectly end where they want them to on the opposite side of a piece of paper. For me, that's just, I do the best I can. So there's questions I'm asking myself as I'm drawing. I'm thinking about anatomy. I'm thinking about fingers interacting with each other. Knuckles are just trying to get it down fast. Yeah, good fun. Frank forgives me. I'm forgiven. Thank you, Frank. Frankly, see, I can remember that. We're just leaning into the fact that people make frankly jokes at you, Frank. Just if we start addressing you as frankly takes the power out of that. Gives you a hip name, very hip. It's not like Frank isn't a hip name. So I'm doing the lines a little bit thicker here on this part of the clothing. I don't know, maybe in some way to push the idea that there's different textures, different weights, you know. Trying to find those as we go. You know, you got to do what you can to keep that energy happening, and at the same time, you know, just give yourself the sort of freedom to pursue different marks and different story directions here. So the idea next is to come in with a white and to go over top of this area and pull out some of these highlights and to pull out some of these. Maybe throw a little bit of texture in with that grease pencil, wax pencil. I don't know what they're called. See, that's why it's giving me a problem to find some more. There we go. Frankly. I like that. That's good too, frankly. Yeah, I think we're starting on to something here. We're dialing in. There you go. He's got a title of another book, folks. Simply Frankly, The Guide to Being Frank and Other Unattainable Goals. Good for you, Frank. All right. Well, I did it. Last night I recorded some audio files and I sent them to a certain someone. We'll see how that goes. Just a sort of first foray to see if this is the kind of thing they're looking for. Some audio bits for a project. You know, if I have to redo them or they don't quite hit the mark, that's fine. But at least this way, by getting something to them as fast as I can, gives us a place to start from. But that was a lot of fun. I just sat there, just went off a little bit, you know, in the microphone, the recording thing. Yeah. Microphone. I don't know. Frank says, do you have to be on the registry for audio files? I've tried not to be on any kind of registry. I don't know. I just emailed some. There's a wave recorder on my computer. I recorded it into the microphone and sent them as waves. So hopefully there's something to it. Now, maybe my mic isn't quite set right. I need to tune it up a little bit so that it's clear. I don't know if it's got any fuzz on it. But I tried a number of variations for this opportunity and trying to give them something to objectively work with. So I don't want any registries to keep me out of Texas, Frank. Texas. Okay, so because I'm having my guy sleep up against the wall, I want to flatten this arm out. Let's go over here and Sorry about that. I slid off the thing again. It's all that cop. I don't think I have the right voice for a Luan film, but I'm always up for it. I don't know what the right voice would be for a Luan film, if there's such a thing. I just tried to say 27 different ways. 27 different ways. I like you, Jim. You're all right. You're all right in my book, fella. Texas. So it's a different, I find I'm not really a micron pen guy. I find that they tense me up too much. But, you know, do what you can, right? Are you the only one that puts maple syrup in your coffee? Well, I don't. I'm sure there are lots of other people that do it. I think in this world that we live in, as much as we would like to be unique and different and individual, I think that no matter what the thing is, that we're going to find somebody else who does it. Do you know what I mean? Because, I mean, there's all kinds of strange and interesting behaviors that people get up to. And the more that, you know, this world is globalized and you can find out more information from different parts of places, we're finding an awful lot of similarities around the world, right? So there's probably somebody else that puts maple syrup in their coffee or some kind of tree syrup. In fact, it's probably a guarantee. All right. So I'm thinking my guy's looking a little too young here. So I'm going to weather him up a little bit. Just a little bit of age to him. And I think I want him to have a mustache, but you know what? I'm actually going to come in after and pull the white whiskers out in a second. So, all right, that guy's too thin. See, this is, I'm going to jump to a thicker pen just to fill in this black area. So the idea, of course, is that if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. So I'm going to start off with our inebriant. Leaning against the wall here. So I'm going to put a brick wall in. And, Jim Luan is signed in, everybody. How you doing, Jim? How you doing, all you fine American Canadians? If we've given Frankly a Canadian name, it is Frankly Mapleton. I think it fits. We should put votes on it, Frank. We should put votes on it. All right, I better finish off the rest of this in the pen that I've been using. Don't want to jump to too thick a mark on just certain areas and not on others. So I think the reason that I don't tend to use microns is the fact that I do find them a little bit fiddly. Jim, if you're still here, did you get what I sent you? I'm not saying it for a response. I just want to make sure you got it. Just playing with the shapes here. Uh-oh. Frank's sending people pictures again. What did we talk about earlier, Frank? You don't want to be on any lists. You know what it is? Is that I tend to draw as volume, as shapes. I tend not to draw as lines. And so I think that when I get using these micros, I start to switch to line art. I don't know why it is with this specific kind of pen. Frank has been enjoying the sweet velvet tones of Gordon Lightfoot. Yeah, that's good stuff. Gord's Gold was one of the first 2 records I bought when I was 9. I bought 2 albums. One was Gord's Gold, and the other one was Janis Joplin Pearl. I think it was Janis and the Holding Company, but you know what I mean. Okay, I sent it. It is sent. Maybe it's taking a long time for to get down to California. I don't know. I'll have to look and see make sure there's no problems. But I sent you 11 files. Love of Maple Syrup is one of my favorite songs so far. You know, like Pussy Willows, Cattails, Softwinds, and Roses, raindrops on the roof you may hear. Oh, I got some exciting news for everybody. I don't know if I should offer up an opportunity if anybody is coming to Canada for the Juno Awards, because Nickelback is going to be playing. I don't know where the Junos are going to be this year, but if they're in this side of Canada, woohoo! Nickelback! Said nobody. You want the perfect storm? It's Nickelback and Celine Dion doing a duet, huh? They use that to get secret information out of spies. Sit there in a cell. Duet between Nickelback and Celine Dion. Sundown is an amazing song. It is an amazing song. It's a threat. Like that's the greatest part of that is that song's a threat. You don't realize it, or at least some people don't realize it. They don't pay enough attention to the lyrics, but that whole song is threatening somebody. Frank says he found his Canada cap the other day. The people don't take kindly to him wearing a Canada hat in Texas. Probably wondering why you're wearing a Canada hat in Texas. It's probably less of a, we don't like that Canada hat around here, and more of a, buddy, what do you got that on there for? Excuse me. All right, I'm off camera again. I'm so sorry for that. It's because I put all my drawing crap up here. There we go. I'll stop doing it now. All right, so drawing our guy in, finishing off his feet. So the whole idea, sundown isn't a threat, it's a promise, said Chuck Norris. That gets a star. I'd like to hear Chuck Norris singing Sundown by Gordon Lightfoot. Maybe we can get Phil to do it. Phil, do an impression of Chuck Norris singing Sundown, you better take care if I find you creeping around on my back stair. All right, so I'm just making a mess of the shoe, and then we'll get into some of the environment around it. So the idea here, if riches were horses, beggars would ride. Is what we're working off of. So we're having a fella down on his luck. We'll clean up around his foot here. All right, so I've got want a little more energy in that arm. It's so hugged up against the body, I don't like it. It's got to have something here. It's got to be the only answer. So we're going to have to draw an object directly beside him. I never knew how many songs I used to listen to were Gordon Lightfoot until I found Love and Maple Syrup. That gets a star. There you go. Gordon Lightfoot's one of my favorite performers. Gets a star. Also, this gets a star. I like Canada. What can I say, eh? I think Christopher Walken singing Sundown would be gorgeous. I mean, sundown. Better take care. Yeah, that'd be great. That would be great. I'll have to do a remix or a dub of that. Okay, so I'm going to schmutz this code up a little bit. There we are. Okay. So I'm not sure. Okay, it's really going to pick up in the camera. So I went with a nice dark gray cardstock here to draw on. And it picks up the black and the white really nicely. It's just a nice cardstock, really. So by putting the black lines down first and then coming in with the white over top, it sort of gives a little more, I find anyways, it gives a little more depth to the area that you've already put some tone in. And then we're going to do the same thing in his mustachio. And hopefully that's going to pull out more dimension in the figure. Now I'm thinking about some light, some raised surface areas here. And I could also do this. I brought the paint marker pen. I brought that over to the drawing spot here, in case I decide to do some white highlights with that instead. But I went right into the jelly roll, so we'll stick here. So it's that gray, that base color working as that intermediate value that really saves half the thinking about putting in the white and the black lines. And so here's where some of those areas that I might change my mind on, whether or not they're dark or they're light. That's the nice thing about having a solid pigment mark making tool, is that you can go over that area that you've already put down. It's contrasting value. There's a fantastic book that I read recently, and I've suggested it for people. It's a comic book called The Dregs, and it's about a drug addict, schizophrenic detective who's homeless, and he's noticing he's got a problem with alcoholism and not staying with his meds. Well, he's noticing that a lot of his friends and a lot of the old haunts and soup kitchens are all, the area is getting gentrified, but at the same time, a lot of people that he knows are disappearing. So, well, he's on it. He's on the case. Some lady showed up in his office, asked him to look into it. A lady in red. So it fits all those classic, 1930s private eye movie. Memes? Is that a meme? I really couldn't tell you what the hell a meme specifically is, other than a little video that annoyingly gets put on your computers. I do know that the person that claims to have invented the term is a jerk. Language! Okay, so as I'm putting some of these marks in, I'm trying to change the way that the marks are going in areas. Like I'm trying to make sure that the marks in the coat that I'm putting down, I'm putting them down with a little more pressure and hopefully making those values a little more smoothed out, as opposed to the marks in the shirt, the vest area, the vest here. They're a little haphazard and sketchy. And it's these sort of things that hopefully give something to the different pieces of fabric that the person's wearing. Now, this is a wax pencil, grease pencil. I don't know what they're called, but I'm on the search for more. So this is what I'm going to use for the pants. Just because it has that granular texture to it. I don't know, maybe that's sort of a little more suggestive of cotton pants. There we go. So the idea that I have here with if wishes were horses, beggars would ride, is to play on the idea of this individual's wish for betterment and a bit of a fantasy moment. I love the idea of fantasy moments. I'm a big fan of Terry Gilliam's films, and he always has these beautiful fantasy elements incorporated into his material. It's the material that he chooses specifically has to have those things in it. It seems very integral to how he views his creative art, his vision as a director. All right, so hopefully there's a whole bunch of different texture picking up in those pants. And I'm just going to touch up. So I'm putting a mark down and I tap it with my fingertip. Soften it down a little bit. Means you got to go a couple passes around before you can start raising up some proper whites, but I'm trying to, again, find different ways of expressing these different surfaces. I respect what inkers do. I do respect what they do. They do bring something to books. I don't like the idea of people just saying, oh, tracers. It's not fair. There's quite a few different tricks and things that they pull out of their hats. But I myself am not a very good inker, so always playing. All right, so there we got a good start. I was using a 1, I think. Oh, you know what? I haven't even gone down into the lower part of our guy here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm stippling the white marks, and I don't know if that picks up there. What stippling is dot, 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 dot. And instead of solid lines. And the reason that I'm stippling the sock texture is because, it's a knitted product. It's woolen socks. They're going to have these wonderful little textures. And if you're not sure about that, well, hike up your pant leg and take a gander at your socks there. Take a gander at your socks. So, different application again for the shoe. Okay. Well, hopefully Jim gets that today, and if it doesn't show up today, I'll send it again. I'll send that doodah once more. If it doesn't work then, we'll send it the next day. Okay, so I've got 2 choices right now. Now I can either draw him contextually in his environment. It was in your junk email. Jim got it, everybody. Oh, right. You are not junk, sir. Thanks, Jim. That makes me feel a lot better. Okay, so I've got the ballpoint pen out now just to throw down some of these environmental shapes. So just building it up for a second here. And shift this around for a moment. All right. Well, I'm glad you got it, Jim. That's good. Every one of them is just me weeping openly. I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm doing. I need some direction. Cut. Cut. You're lucky it's not a video. It would have been real close-up shots of me going, nobody wants that. And I apologize for doing it in camera. All right, so I got him leaning up against the barrel here. All right. I'm not surprised it went to the junk folder because you could probably get lots and lots of fan mail. I would think you do. All right. So I'm just in my head thinking about and doing my best to what I call populating the image. And so I'm thinking about structures and forms and trying to put some of those in here. But at the same time, recognizing that some of these things aren't going to be perfect, beautiful geometric shapes. You know, they're just not. The box is going to be open, greasy. Playing with that idea, and I'll come in with the other pens in just a moment, but in the interim. So I'm just trying to get some of this stuff underneath him and in and around him. And the reason that I'm using this pen is, like I was saying earlier, I get a little too precious with the micron pens, the micro balls, the whatever types, you know, you're using specifically. There's so many different brands. They're all ostensibly the same pen. I get a little too precious. So I'm just speed dropping this image here, and then we'll get back into tidying that up and cleaning that up a little bit. Yeah, so today's listening, I said it earlier, I'm listening to Black Mountain. And if you get an opportunity to listen to Black Mountain's album, debut album, man, it's a few years back now, but it is one of those fantastic pieces of music that, you know, you just got to get into. Just give it a try for a moment. I don't like that. I only like Neil Sedaka. Is it Neil Sedaka? Then I'm out. Oh, you damn Neil Sedaka lovers. Okay, so at this point, I'm putting in some of the textures for the bricks. And the repetitive pattern that I'll do is that I'm trying to keep a uniformity in the height of the bricks and this crossover of these textures and widths of the bricks as they go down on the wall here. My son Josh and I were watching something, and that's a lot of grout that guy's got in that tiling. Just my sons are both quite knowledgeable in the things that they're interested in, and Josh, it's building, and you know, Chris, it's electrical. And they'll say things to me that are like, "Yep." It's because they're right, you know. There's a lot of mud there. It's very muddy. Okay, I gotta let you in on a couple little sneaky bits here with doing brickwork. And that is, if you can do a couple things. You can do this grout line, like what I was just referring to. Don't do it solid. Don't just lines, little dots and bits. It doesn't have to be solid, you know, because it isn't going to look natural. That's not the way that light is captured on things. If you want to draw a 1970s style comic, yeah, go ahead, do it. And make all your geometric shapes perfect. But I think that you'll find that that's not quite how it actually looks. And another fun thing you can do is really lightly with this old sucker, run him across the top of the bricks. And you get this heightening of the shape, the details that are in that brick face. Or don't. That's fine too. What are you? This guy's number 1. Oh, yeah, I'm still using that. So the reason I switched over to this ballpoint is twofold. 1, to speed up the process. And 2, because that softened value, that lighter black in comparison to the solid black that's on our character here, it diffuses a focus around him and pushes a focus on him. That's the theory, right? Whether it's true or not, well, only heaven knows. So you can see I made a mistake there in my brick line. Too much jabbering. It's all right. I'll show you how to fix that. Let's keep on, get the proper one in the next level down. So now we've got the brick wall that he's leaning on here thrown in. Sort of gives a more rounded sense of the image. Jim, if you're still here, if what I sent you is that's the idea, some stuff, if you want something more, just let me know. All right, so we're putting in a little bit of that grout in there as well. And so you can just sort of see it takes a little time to put together a brick wall in your drawings and to put together the details of the wood grain and old caskets and barrels. You know, it really sort of helps. All those little textures sort of help and build that sort of stuff up. What am I missing? I'm just missing. Oh, that's what you said before. Okay, you're welcome, Jim. Grout Line is a great disco song by Heatwave. You sure that's not Madonna? Wasn't that Madonna? Grout Line, feel like I'm going to lose my mind. Oh, it's Borderline. It's Borderline. By the way, that's how I sing everything now. Oh. Hello, Raoul. Welcome aboard, sir. Yeah, so if I want to bring some emphasis, so another thing to do here is along the edges of a brick wall, recognize that the grout sits inside the brick, the seam there. There's a little dimple inside of that. That's, if you can do that when you're putting together a brick wall, right? Is Jim Dutch? Is Raoul Dutch? My wife's Dutch. See, I did that again. What I did earlier down below. That's okay. We'll fix it again. Oh, hello is Dutch. Hello. My wife, when she was a kid, because her name was so Dutch, she imagined herself as a television news reporter. This is a secret, right? She imagined herself as a television news person with a more anglicized name, which is so super cool and fun. I want to work on a project with her, recounting some of the things that she's recorded in her old journals from when she was a kid, because they're so fun. How somebody looks at the world when they're a kid compared to how they look at it as an adult. Never the same. Do I like stroopwafels? I do, but I can't have a lot of things anymore because of so I don't know if I'm even able to have those anymore. I like what have I got? I just ran out of Zieptrot, or however you say those. I really like those a lot. The black licorice candies is what they are. All right, so we've got just some more of our environment in here. And so as I'm considering, if I'm thinking the light's this way, then that's going to put a little bit of dispensation of value here on this wall. Not so much. But I'm just sort of structuring it out now. Just trying to get some of these little bits in here. Brazil. Licorice, yeah. All right, so now we're getting our guy in. Sometimes in things like this, reference helps. If I had some reference to what I'm doing, I think there'd be some benefit to that. But we will make do. Wishes for horses, I tear through those blue Alberta skies. You know, there's really very little difference between a lot of the Canadian prairies and a lot of the American cowboy places. Very similar aesthetic. You wouldn't think so. You'd think it's very specifically an American thing, but there's quite a few people in Calgary and Alberta strolling around in cowboy hats and listening to Ronnie Millsap. Hello, darling. Nice to see you. It's been a long time. Anyways, good evening. This is Knowlton Nash. Well done. Well done. Afternoon, Gary. Afternoon, Anonymous. Yeah, it's nice. Everybody popping in and visiting. Got a star. All right. Okay, so yeah, we've got a little more to our image here. So this is our establishing thing for our principle, and there's a bunch of artists that I think are really proficient at drawing little textures and little bits and bobs and street scenes. I'm, I really like, there's quite a few people right now that I've come across. There was a remake of Airboy that was done recently, and the artist of that book, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. All right, this is something I'm going to edit out here, just erase out in the finished image, but okay. So the idea I had, I'm not sure how this is going to go down on this paper. I haven't tried it yet, so we'll see how it goes. Let me think for a second more. I think I just want to put one more piece of texture in behind them. So today, the page that I posted today was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that. Going off my rocker there. Calling everybody nerds. How can I go wrong with that? Anonymous says, my brother told me a story of him ordering a cocktail in an Edmonton bar, and a cowboy bartender said, but you want a beer, right? Yeah, that sounds about right. I used to bartend at a place called the Vic here in London. His nickname is the old bucket of blood. And which is the blue-collar population, talking about the doctors at the hospital that used to be nearby would come over to the Vic at lunchtime and have a beer. And they would, or at the end of the day, and the joke was with the blue-collar community was that they're coming to wring out all the blood out of their clothing and, tie if you want. So that's where a nickname like that comes from, the old bucket of blood. And it was so funny to me that I really didn't have to know a sophisticated amount of drinks to bartend there, because they weren't getting ordered. And when they were, it was so few and far between. I just told people, okay, just give me a second to look that up unless you know how to make it. Because you don't know how to make that? I'm like, and I do this. Look around. No, I don't know how to make that. Who's ordering that here? So you should always get those people. Can't believe you don't know how to make that. That's funny. It happens in places like Edmonton. You also get looks from bartenders if you're the friend that your friends are ordering a drink and let's take a coffee, and the bartender go, what does it say? How many years did you practice and master the art of drawing, Christopher? Drawing is just something that I have, well, mastering, I don't know, but drawing is something that I have just done my entire life. And, at the tender age of 21, couldn't believe that myself if I tried. I don't know. It's just something that practice. That's all it is. The routine of repetitive practice and thinking about images in your head when you're drawing. I think that is something that's often oversighted and overlooked. It's really important to sit down, and when you're thinking about the structure of something, allow yourself to just close your eyes for a moment and think about a barrel, or think about a box, or think about whatever it is. Okay, this might be one of the most fun responses about age I've seen. I'm 21 plus 8, just turned 29 last Valentine's Day. Nice. That gets a star. Yeah. Well, you've probably been drawing for 25 years, right? What have we got here? Oh my God, I just listed your bowling clips. I wouldn't go that far. But I'm glad that some of that's workable. If there's anything you'd have me change, Jim, just let me know. That's all just one little scrap of notes and let's go. So there's a lot of repetition. Uh-oh, Gary. I want some now, Gary says. Now. Say it loud. The full fungus. Is that how you want that said? Yeah, got to get that into the lexicon. Okay, so I'll have to record that for you. I'll give you a bunch of variations on the full fungus. So I'm thinking about objects as I'm putting them together. And in the course of putting them together, I think about the shape. Is it perfect? No. But does it work? Yes. And so at the end of the day, if you have a sort of clear understanding in your head about the shape of a thing, geometrically, how it sits as a volume in space, that's the first trick. But yeah, everybody, Jim's new film that he's working on is The Full Fungus. Okay, so this is going to contradict some of my form here, but that's okay. I'm not too concerned or upset about it. But I just want to put a big gob of white in here because at a certain point, when you're doing a comic book, you got to put the words someplace. I tried to give you as many variations as I could, Jim. Oh, that's funny. That's very nice of you. That's fun. That's fun. Yeah, I tried. I love this. This is good. That gets a star. I just try to give Jim some voice stuff with a number of different iterations and a number of different voices for multiple things. So hopefully that'll work out. So this cardstock here does not take too kindly to textured marks like what this is. This is a paint. But that's all right. We'll work with it. I'll have to clean this up, do another little coat of it. That man partied too hard. That's right. Yeah, that's the way to look at him. So again, trying to apply just some different textures. I'm lightly using this. It's very much like a pencil crayon structure, but it's a wax pencil. It's a marking pencil for when you're working construction. And I think the only place that I'm going to find these is if I go to Home Depot. The Home Depot. Because I can't find them in any art supply or office supply stores. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I got my son to do it. My one son likes going to Home Depot, apparently, every chance he gets. Pick that up some wax pencils. All right. Frank says, I'm back. Uh-oh. Canadian virus. Turn all my A's into A's. Good for you, Frank. All right. So, yeah. Okay. So I put a little bit of time into this first panel, but the reasoning that I do that, the reason that I try to invest solid detailed information in at least one panel is that once we identify our character, we establish our scenario, we establish all the key ingredients as best and as representative as we can, you get to slack a little bit in further images. You don't need to have as much detail in shots where you see him from a distance, because you already know from a shot from up close the structure of what he looks like. And there's great benefit to that. The other thing I brought for today, I picked it up right there, is some black crayon. And the black crayon is to put down some cement texture on this gray paper. Because knowing now what I can actually get picked up in the scanning process, oh yeah, I'm going to play some more. Because, you restrain yourself to some extent because you're not sure what's going to pick up and what isn't. Once you figure that out, oh, it's a dangerous game. Trying to do it as softly as I can. So, Roll says, "Is this your hobby? Can't be a hobby if you do it all the time. Is this my hobby, or are you drawing for a living as a job?" Yep, that's what I do. I'm a drawer. Yep, writing and illustrating a number of books for a number of projects. A couple more I've been looking at this last week. I turned something down last week that just was not going to work out. And I'm at that point now where, and with the support of my partner, with my wife, she's like, if you know this isn't going to work and you know that you're not going to enjoy this process, don't do it. Then I say, yes, ma'am. So she's right, because, if it's outside of your wheelhouse, if it's outside of your comfort place for this is how I work, and the person says, well, we want you to do this. Nope, thanks. Thank you. Because there's other things that are on their way. I used to be of the mindset that I'd get into some contrived jobs. I had a portrait that I did once years ago. This is when I say years, I think I'm talking about at least 20, 25 years ago. And this one portrait that I'd done, and it was outside of the portraits that I would do for, gallery sittings or formal portraiture. We're talking about just a fun cartoony portrait. And this is from the people that I met through the cartoon community or the comic community more so than the fine art gallery community. And I want you to do a drawing of my brother-in-law, or my brother and my sister-in-law. Okay, all right. What's what would you like? And so he gives me a picture of him, and then he says, can you thin her out a little bit, because she was uncomfortable with her weight, and can you separate her eyebrows a little more, because she feels like she's got, she wishes that she could pluck her eyebrows properly so that it didn't look like she had a single eyebrow. And can you remove the mole off her cheek, and can you make my brother look like he's got less of a turkey neck, and so all these I'm like, so I try to incorporate some of these requests in the image, and then as I'm bringing, what do you think? How do you like that? Hey, would you do him dressed as Batman and Robin? I'm like, what? Okay, man, I'll do that, but it's not really how this works, dude. We had an arrangement for this drawing. Oh, I'll give you extra if you draw him as Batman and Robin. Which one's which? She's Robin. So now I'm putting this lady into a Robin costume. And there's just no way. And about halfway through sitting down there and doing that, I just realized to myself, why am I wasting my time doing this? Why? This is absolutely absurd. With the amount of requests and the amount of carrying on before I even got started about all these little details and stuff, it was never going to be what he wants in the first place. I'm done. I'm out. And I said, dude, I did the one drawing. I'm going to stick with that. I'm not doing this Batman Robin thing because I don't like it. I don't think it's very, very nice and endearing. No, don't worry about it, man. It's and he makes some, inflationary. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Not so nice comments about his brother and his wife and how they won't care. They're kind of blah blah blah. So I asked him if he even liked his brother. I'm done. Actually, just forget it. Here's your photo back. And I took the drawing away. So I was just annoyed by him at that point. And it was, it's things like that come up. And so my wife has been very clear to me about if you get jobs that come up that ever make you feel like, since I told her about that situation many years ago, she said, if you ever get jobs that come up where it's starting to feel like that, just walk away. Or if it feels like, if you can tell it's going to be like that right from the starting point, don't do it. And I'm like, okay. And she's right. I mean, you just hold on a minute. And if you practice what you do, and once you put yourself out there, people come to you with stuff. People are always going to come to your stuff with harebrained ideas. Let's start with that first. And you're not taking a wash on your intention of your career as an art guy to say no to some people, because some people, they have bad ideas, right? And like, there's a reason I say 1-page comic idea, suggestion, couple sentences. And the reason for that is there's always somebody that tries to hand you the Guggenheim Bible for a 1-page comic. You know what I mean? And I just read Frank's comment. Hey, Frank, put your heart back together. He didn't mean anything. It's an important question. Because there are people that, it's the deliberacy of intent, But with that deliberacy of intent, you have got to have the facility and the recognition that you're going to treat this as a professional thing. Whether you're doing it part-time as a side hustle, on the side of your regular paying gig, or if you have intention for making some kind of recognizable name of yourself for what you do, what you create, do it with professionalism. Strive to improve. Find your own voice. Sing with it. Hobbyists are people that don't commit. You can have somebody that spends all day long doing something, that they're just, it's, what do you call that? Quietly quitting is an expression nowadays. They're not really fully engaging in the thing that they say that they do. Like, how many people you meet and say, oh, I'm a musician, because they own a guitar. Doesn't mean they play a guitar. So it's deliberacy of intent. If you're striving for self-improvement, or you found your place, that this is how you work, and you're going to engage that to the best of your ability, yeah, there you go. But it's a challenge. Anything that you're going to try to do, it's a challenge to do it to the best of your ability. I know you didn't mean anything by using the word hobby. Some other people take things whatever they take, but I don't take anything by that. One of my favorite cartoons that I've ever seen, and I wish to heaven that I had the wherewithal to remember who the artist was. It's a picture of an artist sitting at an easel, and there's a person that's standing beside and behind them, so that the back of the easel faces the viewer. The artist is sitting in front of it on a stool looking at it, and the other person's standing beside him with the hand, the hand on the chin and the elbow resting on the other hand. And they look at it and they say, that's pretty, so what do you do for a living? That's my favorite art comment. It's there's few things in this world that make me laugh more, because that is an absolute truth. That I'm sorry, I'm missing stuff here. Oh, third time here, Salazar. Oh yeah, yes, indeed. No worries. What is the paper called? This is a English is your fifth language. Holy guacamole. Very European, have multiple languages like that. What is this? What is the paper called, Christopher? I need to have that paper also. It's just a standard cardstock. It's just a heavy grade cardstock. Now, this package that I bought is it's got multiple colors, multiple values of from black through to white, right through the gray tones, and so there's probably 10 sheets of each, a bundle of 50. I found it at a supply store, an art supply. I'm sorry, not an art supply store. I found these at in Canada we have a store called Staples, so I found them there. But it's the same as any computer office supply place people might have near them. So you just look for a standard cardstock that has a little amount of little selection of gray tones. So I'll just put in a couple last little marks in here. So the idea is the next shots that I'm going to do is the guy waking up. And so let me break this down. So the idea here is we've got our establishing shot. This is Frank's Canadian name, everybody, Franklin Mapleton. So we've got our establishing shot of our character lying down in repose on the ground with items around him, right? And I've left space here for the title text. Who likes pizza? I'm not sure what it's going to say yet. Okay. So then what that gives me, I tend not to do really tall vertical panels for the first panel, because there's no clear definition really for where the eye is to be led to the next panel. Now, I've put some diagonal elements in here, and the legs are working in a diagonal pattern. If I put text down here, you're automatically going to follow down, and your directional choice will be moving over to here. So what I've done is pushed it over this way for the viewer's eye by moving all these angles up here. And my placement of the first piece of text would be up in this area. It's just stuff to think about. Anyways, so the idea is we're going to have our guy wake up, and then our character is going to do a little bit of chatting directly into the camera, right? A little soliloquy there. And then, the idea here is that he's going to talk about, what I'd change if I could, what I wish upon a star. And then, so as I have this conversational piece of this repetitive gesticulation of our character, and just then I'm going to have, in this shot that follows down below into the next layer, I'm going to have a horse running up the alley. I'm a horse, nay. And it will end over here with our guy on top of said horse, waving and riding away. So that's the idea, because the idea is if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. And what if wishes really were horses? So it's a fun idea to take literally to play with. So it's just the initial impulsive thought that I have towards the page. And any of these one-page comics, because I do them and post them again within 24 hours, I don't hold back a lot on waiting to figure out what's going. I like this. Econo-size, Captain Crunch. That's random, anonymous. I don't do an awful lot of overthinking, and I don't do an awful lot of, I'm going to lay it out for this way. No, I changed my mind. I'm going to go lay it out for that way. Once I come up with a layout, once I come up with an approach to it, off I go. And because of that, it doesn't allow me to pull back and to look at things to reevaluate things, except for the fact that when I scan everything into the computer and I have the ability to put my pages together with nice clean edges for the panels, etc., I can replace panels. I can move things around a little bit. I can reorganize the story, and that's it. That's all it gives me. I can make this larger. I can make this smaller. But by allowing yourself to have to stick to the immediacy of whatever it is that you're working on, by not overthinking, but not belaboring the process with too much thinking and planning, too much breaking down. What's this? Anonymous says it's an econo-sized Captain Crunch cardstock. Is that really what it's called? Captain Crunch. Anyways, yeah. So if that's a benefit for people in some of your approaches to your projects, again, your working way is your working way, and whatever you find is specifically working out for you. But if your process isn't working for you, if it's and not because it's at a point where you're at the 11th hour stretch, right? I mean, and I'm not talking, Gary's at the 11-hour stretch. I'm not talking specifically about Gary here, but he's at the 11th hour stretch on his third book. And it's just, it's challenging to finish those last so many pages, because you see the end, you see the finish line, and then it just sort of feels like there it is. I'm almost there. But you're not. And so you're waiting for that running through the line. No, what I'm talking about is 11th hour thinking, of constantly reevaluating your project, of constantly reassessing the way that you're working, of constantly redoing your drawings. And I say constantly so much because when people are doing that, they may not realize how often they're doing that. I used to do it all the time. And I would constantly be reworking images and trying to figure out, I want to make this look cooler. I'd like to look like X. I'd like my work to be like Y. Well, I'm not X or Y. And maybe it's more benefit to lean into the intuitive approach, the feel-good approach for me. So if you're stuck in a rut and the process that you're using isn't working, other than an 11th hour stretch, try something different. Try a different approach. And if that means coming at it using different cardstock paper to draw on instead of just working on white, work on a color, work on neutral tones, work on, like the gray tone patterns we got here. Or try using a different tool. Hey, draw with crayons. I know this is a random thing, but drawing with crayons is so fantastically fun. And you recognize, oh, when I touch crayons now, I am far more equipped to figure out how to do shading and different values and things like that with crayons than, of course, I wasn't able to do when I was a child. And maybe that's the sort of kick in the pants that you need in order to realize that you've grown, your talents have grown. But try something else is my whole point. Try a different approach. Try changing up your subject matter. Try just reevaluating how you do it, and do so on the fly, and allow yourself that liberation. And I think that that'll help people be a lot more fulfilled in whatever it is that they're making. But I've been, in regards to Raul's question earlier, I figure at this point now, I have been drawing for at least 45 years, if not more. I mean, there's the thing, my mother, Christopher used to draw in his crib. So, no, I don't count that period of life or anything like that. I'm talking about when you actually start sitting down and you're actively engaged that drawing is a thing that you want to do. It's probably been about 45 years for me. And so in that, what I do isn't perfect. What I do isn't as polished and stylized and wonderful as some other people that I see working that are far younger than I am. But what I'm doing is I'm comfortable in. And so whoever you are, however old you are, Raul, you're 21 plus 8. So, I mean, Just enjoy it, and enjoy it, and just keep at it. But look at foundations. If you want to draw, look at the foundations of how to draw shapes and forms. If you want to paint, look at the foundations of how to make marks with paint, right? Figure out the basic set of rules of how things work, how application works, and then break them. Don't by any means feel hard and fast locked into something. Nobody uses this typeface. Get out of town. Use whatever typeface you want to use. Nobody works with pen in this way. Work with pen however you want. The reason that the guy that did all the posters, Drew Struzan, the reason that Drew Struzan's posters were so crazy popular when he started doing posters for the Indiana Jones franchise, Star Wars stuff, when he started doing all these posters and people were just completely taken by it, it's because he was putting pencil crayon in them, and he was using a little bit of airbrush, and he was, I believe it was primarily oil. I don't know if it was acrylic and gouache. I think it was oil that he worked in, but he put pencil crayon in his drawings. He would use the gesso on the surfaces that he worked on in such a way that it would build up these little lines and patterns on the surface. He would just do whatever he would do. And these rules about, oh, that's not how you go about this, he threw them out the window. And so because of that, he did something new. You'll usually find that the people that you like visually, for whatever reason, they're doing something different. And they may well be doing that something not in accordance with the structural rules of how it's supposed to be done. But that doesn't mean that they don't have an understanding of foundations. And if your foundation is sitting down with all the people whose work that you like, and sitting down with another piece of paper and looking at that image and trying to replicate it in whatever way, that's a great way to learn how to draw. It's not the be-all end-all of how to learn how to work, but there's a great many people that have had very successful careers because they did it by studying what others have done. But you really do need to have an understanding of why they did what they did, and that comes in time. I hope that helps. I hope that rounds out the question you gave me, Raul. But yeah, we've got this guy plotted out. I'll get this done for tomorrow. If anybody has any one-page comic ideas that they think would be fun and interesting to see happen, let me know. Yesterday's idea was, just one more time, frankly, gave me the idea to do superhero. Let me look it up. Superhero mail order scams was Frankly's idea, and so I took a leap with that and said that this mail order thing is in the advertisement in the comic books that say, "Sign up for this radioactive goo to get your own superpowers." Is the conceit that I've placed out there, and so because of that, it allows me to evaluate how bad an idea that would be. Aside from the fact that you're ordering radioactive material in the first place, or that somebody's putting an article out to solicit that people order radioactive material. But just the whole notion of children with superpowers is a terrifying prospect to me. I think one of the smartest things that Kirby and Lee did in the creation of the X-Men is that they said that they get their superpowers during puberty. Because the idea before that is a terrifying thing. All right, so this was a lot of fun to do this page. But if you see any of the one-page ideas that I've done, if you look through my Instagram or my Facebook posts, and you see any of the one-page comic ideas that I've already completed, because I tend to write in the matter below what these ideas were. But if you see any that you look at and say, I want to take a crack at this idea because I have a completely different idea than what Christopher's done, then do it. Do it and have a ball doing it. Because that's the whole thing. It's an idea. And ideas are always different. And ideas are translatable in so many different ways. Right? So yeah. So this was a lot of fun. We got a good crack on today's page. I'll round this out and finish this up tonight. And in the meantime, whatever it is that you're working on, I'd like to see it. I look forward to seeing that. Feel free to share with me. My contact stuff is in the errata down below the video's text. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna head out for today. In the meantime, keep creating. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and we're on and to the next page. Thanks very much, gang. We'll see you then.